At the end of January, my oldest daughter made a great decision. And in fact, I was there when she made it. She registered her oldest, my grandson, into a local Christian school. She and her husband had spent some time thinking about where to put their son when he was ready for school. And of course, my wife and I were advocating for a Christian school. My daughter went to a Christian school. My son-in-law did not. And in the end, as they looked at all their options, they were convinced that the best place for my grandson was a Christian school. And I could not be more delighted. And I'm delighted not just because I work in the context of Christian schools, but because Christian schools, even more so than when my children were attending school, have so many advantages. They are considered the safest place for kids. If you look at the data from school safety surveys done in Alberta and in other jurisdictions, consistently, our schools are considered to be the safest place for kids. Now, of course, I'm not saying perfect. What I'm saying is when it comes to an environment in which kids are cared for, loved, in which concerns are addressed, in which there is an active culture of caring for each other and a real incentive not to bully, which isn't simply because you went to a sensitivity training seminar, but because you serve a God who loves unconditionally. Therefore, we create great environments for kids. Again, not perfect, but better than other environments. In addition to that, our students are being exposed to a biblical worldview. And again, when you survey parents and ask them, like, why did you choose a Christian school? Over and over again, they say it's because of the safe environment. It's because of the high values training they get. And that, of course, speaks to our Bible programs. It speaks to our chapels. It speaks to the call to not simply a moral life, but a call to a relationship out of which a moral life emerges. In other words, our schools are not just about giving kids rules to follow for life, because we all know how hard those rules are to follow. It's about introducing them to the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Son of God, who came to bear the consequences of our moral failure and then to give us reason to be moral. Because it's all about love. It's all about freedom. It's all about joy. It's all about peace. Teaching our kids in our schools that the call to obedience is not a call to make God your friend through your actions. It is a call to find out what flourishing humanity is, because the law of God is simply the character of God. And so when we're following the law of God, we are simply living in relationship with Him, and we are discovering all the beauty that comes from that relationship, the peace, the joy, the love, the goodness, the righteousness, the self-control, all those things that make life good. And so, our parents are choosing our schools because they believe that our kids are going to have a good life, great relationships, a hope for the future. And then another enormous part of that choice, and a huge reason why we are so delighted that our grandson is going to a Christian school, is because the academic standards and the academic outcomes of our schools are excellent. And we all know that we're not competing with each other or competing with other schools. In other words, we're not trying to create great academic outcomes so we can be better than others. We're doing it because we see that as a fundamental element of our call to make Jesus real in this world. We understand how important it is that our kids be literate, how our kids be mathematically oriented, how they are able to think scientifically, how they are able to think critically, how they're able to ask good questions and know how to find the answers. And so for all of those reasons, we are absolutely thrilled that our grandson is going to be attending one of your schools. And we are excited about what is happening in Christian schools throughout the world, certainly here in Western Canada. And I guess I want to end with a challenge that I've given you before, which is, how are you building greater capacity for students? Because more and more and more, your schools are going to be doing the best job of educating children in your community, simply because you are motivated by love, you're empowered by the Holy Spirit, you have an incredible future vision that will be realized, and families in your community are going to pick up on that and want their kids there, even if they don't believe what you believe yet. So let's make room. Let's make room for kids, not only like my grandson, who comes from a great Christian home, but for kids that don't, and who need a place like your school in order to learn what it means to be a flourishing human being, and then in order to get the skills, the abilities, and the heart orientation that leads to flourishing. Have a great month.